Hello and welcome back to the Chattercade podcast, where I discuss media in the forms of reviews. I'm your host, Dragon King Thomas Hughes, and today we are once again returning to the Man-Eater series to cover the next entry. Obviously, I said last time when we did, and I did something beneath that. I might have an episode out between that one and this one, but it never happened. Technically speaking, I was meant to record this one about a week ago when I first over a week ago when I first watched it, but I just never got into actually watching it, so I had to rewatch this movie to get another opinion on it, since obviously I had to delay the actual recording of the episode. So, well, here we are anyway. So today I'm discussing Croc, released in 2007, and it served as the 6th entry in the Man-Eater series. Obviously the plot's pretty simple with this one. Obviously the movie follows the owner of a crocodile farm in Thailand, with the help of an animal welfare agent and a hunter, must hunt down a man-eating saltwater crocodile who's begun killing in the area. Obviously, the whole plot point in the film is, at one point they think it's his crocs, because obviously some got released, even though the killings happened before they got released. But of course, they didn't know that. And in the end, of course, it's not his. It's a big-ass fucking saltwater crocodile that has a history with the hunter character, and so they're going on this adventure to try and stop it. Well, I say adventure, I mean the three of them going on an adventure, and then eventually bring everyone else in for the big grand finale. Obviously, this one was directed by Stuart Raphael, who directed the surprisingly entertaining Tammy and the T-Rex movie, which was actually a decent film. The one with the late Paul Walker. He also directed the follow-up to the 1987 Mannequin movie, and he also directed the E.T. rip-off Mac and Me. And according to IMDb, he wrote the story for the Wesley Snipes movie Passenger 57. Looking at the cast on this one, there's pretty much no one really stands out as being like had multiple credits or have been in like a lot of things. Most of them are generally first-time actors. But you do have the late Michael Madsen stepping in on this one as the big, obviously established star. Obviously, Michael Madsen, he's playing the hunter in this one, and of course, in the past, he's been in many things. I mean, Quentin Tarantino movies he's been in. I mean, the likes of Kill Bill, Reservoir Dogs. Now, was he seen in the actual movie? Was it part of the deleted stuff? I know he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I can't remember if it was deleted stuff or it actually made it to the movie. I haven't seen that film for ages. I just know the fucking meme over and over again, because Hayden hates that noise when I make it. And obviously, this time around, obviously, one thing I've been noting, obviously up until Something Beneath, was the fact that there's some sort of Ubisoft or Assassin's Creed connection with this. Obviously, these movies. Obviously, there's at least one person in each movie that has done an Assassin's Creed game. Obviously, last time there wasn't one, but it was Far Cry. Someone did the voice in Far Cry, there's like 3, was it? Something like that. So I was like, you know what? It counts because Far Cry 3 is in Assassin's Creed 4, was it? I think it was. You can see the game in there. And I was like, okay, is anyone in this one? Well, since everyone's a first-time actor pretty much, or has done fuck all, the answer to that is no. So our only video game connection this time around is Michael Madsen, but it's not a Ubisoft connection. Obviously, he was in the Black Ops 2 DLC, Mob of the Dead, and he was in the, funny enough as well, another zombie based game. He's in, obviously, Telltale's Walking Dead Season 2 as the main villain, which I never realised until, obviously, I completely forgot that he was in that. And obviously when he passed away and I was looking for his credits, and I was like, oh, he was the villain in Walking Dead 2. And I was like, oh shit, he was, yeah. So yeah, obviously we've kind of lost our Assassin's Creed connection. The streak is over on number 6. So yeah, what else we got? So obviously I always do remember this one. Obviously, out of most of the Man-Eater series, this is one of the ones that I do remember. There's only like a handful in this series that I remember, obviously, watching back, years ago, and I actually do remember quite well in terms of like how the story goes. Because up to now, most of them, I remember little bits here and there. Obviously, Something Beneath was the exception where I literally didn't remember anything. Same within the Spider's Web. Those are the two where I didn't remember anything, and obviously had a better time with them than the ones that I actually did have a slight memory of. Whereas obviously Croc is one of the ones where I actually remember quite a bit, and obviously I always remember this one for its opening sequence, where you're following two fishermen as they're going out, obviously, on the river, and they're doing a Homer Simpson, but instead of obviously using a fly zapper to catch the fish, they're using dynamite. And I mean, the fish they catch is just like, they're not even big fish, they're tiny ass fish. It's like, was that worth throwing a stick of dynamite in the water just to catch them? So obviously, in the process of them throwing the stick of dynamite in the water, is they disturb the crocodile, and it obviously comes out and smashes underneath the boat. And that's the scene I always remember with this, is where the boat's just there and it just bangs straight for the middle, and it obviously takes them both down one by one. And obviously, as I say, I always remember that scene because A, it's in the trailer, and B, it's just one of those ones where it's just embedded in my brain, along with many other useless bits of information. It's just embedded in there, and it's one of many scenes in this movie that I actually do remember, even before watching it. When I'm rewatching it, I was going, yeah, I do remember that scene. The other one being, obviously, the crocodile when it attacks the kid. I remember that again because it's in the trailer, and it's just the whole scene it just cracks me up with the response from the dad character in that scene. I think I do have that in my notes later on, which I'll get to. But obviously, the thing with the opening scene as well, obviously it's a good scene because it showcases the three techniques that this movie is going to use to bring its crocodile to life. Because so far, when it comes to these creature features, we've had practical effects, we've had digital effects, and we've had an actual animal. So obviously, for example, if you've obviously not been following this series, I'll give you a rundown. So in the spider's web, for example, a lot of the spiders at times were digital, but then you did have actual real spiders every and again, real tarantulas and that walking around. And then you did, on top of that, have these very fake rubber-ass looking spiders dangling from the ceiling. So that they did the exact same thing this one's done, where you've got a digital crocodile, which, to be fair, they don't use a lot. They use it in the opening scene for when it's obviously underwater striking. Most of the time, it's when it's underwater and you see it attacking someone. That's when they'll use the digital, or if it's bursting out or something, that's when this movie will use that digital effect. And I'm happy they didn't use it fully because it's not the greatest digital effect. It's pretty, it's pretty bad. But again, 2007 straight sci-fi movie, straight to DVD flick. You can understand that it's not going to be the greatest effect. But obviously, on top of that effect, I say they do have a practical crocodile that they use a little bit. They don't use it a lot. In the opening, it's when it's dragging the guy under it. Obviously, the last shot when it drags the final guy under. Obviously, you see the jaws sticking out the water, and obviously that is the prop crocodile they use. And then during the final sequence, when it's sort of floating for the water, that again is the prop one. But I say most of the time with this, it's actually a real life crocodile because they use a lot of footage where obviously it's not really going to interact with the people. It's more the case of it's doing something else, and they're going, okay, no, it's swing at a speed because it's going to attack these people. In reality, it's not doing that. It's a swing at a speed to maybe attack an animal, or not even attack anything, just swimming at a speed. But obviously they cut it in the foot. Obviously cut it into the movie, being like, no, it's swimming at a speed because it's going to basically burst out the water and attack someone. So that's the type of footage they use a lot with this one, is the real life. As a review on IMDb, I was reading, said the stock footage of a crocodile. That kind of cracked me up a little bit. So I say I'm happy they kind of continue on with the utilizing an actual animal, because as I say, though obviously it didn't really interact with them in obviously Grizzly Rage or Maneater, I really like them using a real bear and a real tiger. And then with obviously in the spider's web, the utilization of the real spiders to, especially if people are arachnophobic, it make it go, ooh, more than a digital fucking spider would. So I'm happy that it's still sticking more to practical than digital. But that does, at the same time, kind of fuck things up with this movie, because the crocodile kind of changes size consistently. between the freeze techniques. So you got this obviously one crocodile. I'm guessing it's maybe multiple different crocodiles actually of the footage wise, which isn't like a massive crocodile, and it's not even like big built. It's quite finish, but then some shots of the obviously practical one they use is kind of a bit more stockier and a lot bigger. And it's like, and then the digital one obviously completely looks nothing like the one they've gone with. So the look of the crocodile and the size of it consistently changes this movie, and that's one of the negative points I will give for this one. Is though I do love them going less of digital, them kind of mixing up between the three techniques does kind of break your immersion of looking at this crocodile and being, well, that's not the same fucking crocodile that I saw 5 seconds ago. The case in point I made with this when I was rewatching it, and obviously Hayden was with me when I was rewatching it, I was like, this scene at the end, you're seeing the crocodile on the land, you see it slide into the water, you see a shot of it in the water, and then you see it obviously become the real, obviously the actual practical crocodile. I'm like, look at the difference. You can tell the difference there between these two shots. I say plenty of shots as well with the real life crocodile to the digital one. You can tell obviously it's dodgy digital effects, so you can always tell it's gonna be fucking completely different. But it says that my big case in point was the final sequence where you can really tell that it's a different. Obviously, the crocodile they use for the footage is different to the crocodile that they built for this practical sequence, which I say is just like a very stationary fucking flotation device, basically. So that's my big. It's one of those ones where I say I love the lack of the fact that they've tried to go more real / practical than digital, but at the same time, it's one of those ones where it's a double-edged sword. You've got this positiveness here, but then you've got this negative of the size keep changing, and it really does fuck it up. And as I was watching, I was just like, oh no, I can tell that. I can tell it's like completely different size. I couldn't stop thinking about it consistently. Luckily, this movie did have some decent kills to, and a good enough story to basically, kind of stop me from being too annoyed. Obviously, with this one as well, the other negative I will give is the acting. The acting the acting in these ones, and they're not the greatest. Obviously, I've already said multiple times, the acting's very mediocre, or just passable. With this one, for me, it probably is the worst of the ones so far. I feel like the reasoning behind it is because of the fact that a lot of these are first-time actors and actresses, so it's like they don't give like the best of performances. I mean, it's very. I mean, it screams fucking straight to DVD, straight to TV, Sci-Fi Channel movie level of acting. It's that level of bad. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple in this that aren't too bad. I mean, Michael Madsen, for starters, obviously, he shines above everyone in this. He's, like, really good in this. And then the nephew of the main character, he's not too bad as well. And the one who plays the, obviously, welfare character, she's not too bad. So there's a couple of characters that aren't too bad, but most it's the dialogue, how they word a lot of stuff. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of dicey. It's very kind of dicey, and I feel like the reasoning behind that is because a lot of these are first time actors, or if they have done stuff, it's like very minor stuff where they haven't really had to act. And that's the thing with this one, because all the ones so far, the cast has been very tight, compact. There's been, I mean, Blood Monkey, you had a small group. Chris's Rage, even smaller group. In the Spider's Web, yeah, you had a lot of extras, but they didn't really speak. They were just there to fill out the scene and be in the background. Same as Something Beneath. Whereas this one, obviously, I'd say Maneater as well. Obviously, whereas this one, a lot of because of the fact they're going for more kills, they've got, obviously, and a lot of the kills are less of the main cast and more the supporting cast. Obviously, they've got to have a lot more people talking. So, and I say, because obviously, you've got the police plot line, you've got the businessmen trying to shut down the Croc farm plot line. You got this group of friends that are linked to the nephew characters. So you got all these other characters So of course it's gonna be noticeable when obviously the acting isn't big. So I feel like it's because of the fact that it's a larger cast, and as I say, a lot of these are first time actors and actresses, and that's probably what makes it stand out as like one of the worst ones with the acting. I say it's the line deliveries for me. I feel like sometimes some of the line deliveries is like, it could be down to the acting, it could be down to the script itself. It's just one of those things where, for me, this one is probably the weakest when it comes to its acting. And obviously, I said obviously the kills were pretty decent. It's obviously the one thing I always complained about with this series so far is a lot of the kills being off screen, or like the scream, and obviously you see like some swipe, and then it just cuts away. Whereas this, a lot of it is actually on screen. You do have like one or two where it's just like dragged away, but then it makes up for it like moments later. So for example, there's a scene where there's a couple in the ocean, obviously, getting their thing on, and obviously the guy gets his foot chomped on by the croc and he gets dragged away, and she doesn't realise, and you're like, okay, he's dragged off screen, like it's kind of a shame really. Obviously you're not going to see it, but then it makes up for it 5 seconds later with obviously her kill, where you're seeing again getting dragged away, but you're seeing her being dragged away, the blood, and it's like, okay, that first kill not great, but that second one that followed on from it made up for that first kill being lacking. So the opening scene, you pretty much see both kills on screen. I think most of the kills you get to see on screen, or at least like, if it's not like, it basically drawn out essentially. Like you might not see the actual kill, but you do get to see it drawn out. Like the pool scene, for example, that's obviously the one that's very memorable with this one, because it's very fucking bloody and it's very drawn out. And you see this guy literally suffering as his crocodile is chomping it away at him. Obviously, then to the aftermath of there's some random body parts floating in the pools. A bit of a torso here, a bit of a leg here, a bit of a head floating around. It's like, didn't really like cut that up like that. It looks like just some random severed like limbs you got from like a fucking Halloween store or something like that. But obviously the whole scene was really good, really tense, really drawn out. And then you instantly get someone's finding it, and again, it's striking again and taking out this person. And it's one of those ones where you're seeing these characters that have been dicks the entire film, and they're getting their comeuppance, and you're like, okay, all these other ones that have died so far, they died painfully to an extent, but these ones have been like drawn out to fuck, and it's like, okay, these guys were straight up dicks the entire movie, so it's like, okay, it's worth to watch more suffering because these guys are assholes. And I say, obviously, this movie as well has the bold decision, which it's in the trailer. So if you've seen the trailer or you watch the trailer, you basically have this scene spoiled anyway. But obviously, the kid scene where the croc takes the kid from the water, which is what obviously, it's obviously how the cops realize that the crocodile that's attacking people isn't obviously one of the crocs from the farm. Obviously, there's a scene where there's a family in the water having a little fun time. The mom and dad sitting on obviously the boat. Dad's drinking a cold one, having a little cold one, and obviously one of the, I'm guessing like a lifeguard or basically like a coast guard, basically on a jet ski, he's like saying, "Oh, you need to get your kids out of the water. There's a big ass fucking croc in here," and the dad's just like, "Fuck off." But the mom, being the smart ones, is like, "Yeah, come on, out the water. You heard the guy. Get out the water." But since the dad's this dumb idiot, his son is the dumb idiot as well. And he's like, "Oh, I don't want to get out of the water." And the mom's like, "Get the hell out of the water." And he's like, "Nope, don't want to." And the dad's like, "Oh, just fucking let the croc eat him." And as he says that, obviously the croc comes up and just And he's like, "What the fuck?" But it's that scene obviously is just like a shocking scene. But I think for me, what makes that scene is the dad's reaction. His instinct was to jump in to try and save his son. But for some reason, he didn't bother letting go of the beer can that's in his hand, so he just jumps in the water, still beer can in hand. I was like, for fuck's sake, dude, just put the beer can down and try and rescue your son. And obviously, Like for a film that's gonna have the balls to try and kill off a kid, which is funny because I literally, obviously the day I rewatched this movie, was the day I watched Black Phone 2, which the whole point is about dead kids. And then after Croc, I watched Dino Croc, which has that obviously decapitation scene of a kid. I was like, damn, I went 3-0 on movies that had the balls to kill off kids. But I say on this one, this one has it's more funnier. It's not really drawn out. It's more funny, and obviously the drawn outness in this is obviously the fact that it's taking him out to sea, and you get to the main characters try and save the day, but fail miserably. But I say it's just the dad's reaction always cracks me up. I say the whole scene's in the trailer, because they use that line of "let the croc eat him" in the trailer. So, but yeah, I feel like this movie makes up for a lot of its shortcomings with actually having some pretty decent kills. And I say for the fact they're actually showing a lot of them, I mean, I said the pole scene alone is worth it. Obviously the movie has two plots going on, like two main plots at least. Obviously, so you got these side plots with obviously other characters, but the two main plots going on, as I said, the crocodile hunting people, and then you've got the plot line with the business next door to the croc farm, because they want the land that the croc farm's on. They're literally tormenting and torturing these people by fucking, cutting the power, fucking sending the taxmen after them, sending animal welfare there to deal with them. They're literally doing everything in their power to try and get this place shut down. And then obviously you got a plot line going on while, as I said, these characters are literally hunting the crocodiles, and they do tend to actually cross over with each other, because when the bad guys find out that this croc has killed someone, they go and let out crocodiles from the farm to try and basically put the blame on this farm to make them shut them down. And as I then obviously that plays into the fact later when they actually encounter the crocodile themselves. So obviously the businessman plotline isn't the best, but again, for where it ends up on the pole scene, it is worth getting through. Plus, to be fair, most films tend to have some little side plot going on at the same time. Some minor plot that does play into the main story, and that's what this does. The whole reason, obviously, the animal welfare is because of them. The whole reason the crocodiles get out is because of them. The whole reason they're suffering with like the power and obviously their fridges and stuff like that is because of them. So it's one of those ones where it's not like the most amazing plot line, but it plays into the film enough and allows the main plot line to actually run a lot better, a lot more smoother, I should say. That it's one of those ones where you go, okay, yeah, it's a necessary evil, and as I say, for the fact it all builds up to the pole scene, fucking worth it in my eyes. Obviously, you got Michael Madsen's character is a hunter who obviously has history with said crocodile, and it's funny because when I first obviously rewatched this, say a week before, I actually then had to rewatch it again. Obviously, I watched it a day after I watched another movie from the early 2000s called Crocodile, sorry, which is the Tobe Hooper directed one, which obviously uses a lot more digital and a fake crocodile. And obviously, within that movie, there's obviously a plotline of a hunter who has history with said crocodile, and I was like, okay, this is kind of very similar with this. Obviously, the only differences with this one is it's not that it obviously killed his dad. It's more the fact that it's killed a lot of people that he's cared for. It's a lot of people that he's befriended, and he wants to kill this crocodile to serve them justice. So it just reminded me of that plotline from obviously Crocodile, but obviously done a bit different. It's like, okay, it's the same, but it's different enough. But to be fair, the whole hunter plot line within these type of movies, it's done to death. It's like something that's like, it's an easy to do storyline. So yeah, of course that you'd find like another movie with the exact same plot. Who will say I did prefer the Tobe Crocodile to this. It's an early 2000 one, so it screams obviously early 2000s as you're watching it, but it was actually a fucking lot of fun. It was a fuck ton of fun, and I was just like, okay, I forgot how good this one was, and I remember its sequel being a pretty decent follow up as well. Um, Obviously, the ending of the movie was okay. Obviously, the big climax where they go out and like, because the whole point is early in the movie when obviously they're finding encounter Michael Madsen's character, it's like, okay, this croc is using this area for a hunting ground, which means it's got some sort of nest somewhere where it's laying low, which would be like some sort of underwater cave or something. So the idea of the finale is they know where the cave is. They gotta go there and sort of find the opening and basically try and stop this crocodile. And obviously the stakes get higher when one of them gets taken, but it all leads to like a very generic like final standoff where fucking you got Michael Madsen's character and obviously the nephew character just gunning at this crocodile. It's like, okay, is that all you could think of like to actually end it? Was like just shoot this thing to death? I mean, there's no better thing you could do. I mean, I know it's basic as fuck, but I would have took an explosion or something more than that. But to be fair, the only interesting thing of it is obviously most times with these movies it's using an explosion or I say it just dies in a certain like brutal way. But this one is more just like blood loss, and it's just like, okay, that's a different take on this kind of movie. I mean, I will get to it in a bit. Obviously, there's other movies that came out in 2007 involving crocodiles, which had actually one of them didn't have a gunshot one, wasn't it? Pretty certain Blackwater had the gunshot one, but it did it differently. That was a better movie entirely, anyway. But yeah, it's just like obviously you got the only good thing with how they did it is obviously it led to the tense moment of will this person lose a leg? And obviously, or would he drown essentially? And it's like, okay, it's one of those ones where it's not the most amazing way to finish off your big antagonist, but you know it's something different. It's one of those ones where again it's hit and miss. It's not the best way they could have ended it. I mean, I don't know how they really could have ended it. So a little explosion wouldn't have hurt. But it had an interesting like final moments, and as I said, the way they got obviously offed it, the way it showed how it went, it was like, okay, that's something different. So I say, okay, it's one of those ones where it's double-ended sword. It's on one hand it's and the other hand it's okay. What else we got? I'm pretty much in my notes now. Obviously, as I said, there's other movies that came out in 2007 involving crocodiles. So is this the best crocodile movie that was released in 2007? No. If you want to see one that is, watch Rogue, the Australian crocodile movie. That's fucking amazing. Or Blackwater, which has this same idea of real life crocodile footage. Those two are much better movies. And if I'm being honest, have more tense moments. And it's crazy that we had a year, obviously, pretty much back-to-back crocodile movies, which I'm not going to complain, because as I say, at least two of them are fucking outstanding. Plus, we actually had Primeval as well. The obviously one that was that got dubbed about. Obviously, it's like they made the trailer look like a serial killer, but it's like no, it's this giant crocodile, which wasn't bad. I remember that being all right. So we had like four different like levels of crocodile movies. We had two Australian crocodile movies, and two American / Canadian crocodile movies. So it's just like, okay, at least we're diverse in the sense that it's not just all Australian or it's not just all American. So at least there's it's that. So yeah, it's not the best crocodile movie that came out in 2007, but again, bar was set really high for that. Is it the best crocodile movie out there in general? No, not really. I say there's better. I say Lake Placid, for example, much better. But is it the worst crocodile movie out there? No, it's a mid carder. Again, which is what I've been wanting from this series. So back to back mid carders, I'm happy with. Because I say it's one of those ones where accent isn't the best. Uh, the this changing of the crocodile size does throw you out a little bit, but the story's interesting. You got obviously Michael Madsen giving a show, basically being the one that has to carry this ship and this movie. And as I say, there's some good kills in this one. So it's one of those ones where it balances itself out really. So I say it's not the worst, it's not the best. It's in the middle. I say it's better than a lot of the late Placid sequels, mainly because they're just rifled with terrible CGI, and just meh films. But I say it's in the mid ground really of movies. So with that, I'd give Croc from 2007 because there's another film called Croc, which is Croc explanation mark. But the Croc from 2007, I'll give a 5 out of 10. So I say I'll take another mid-carder. As long as it's not a shit film, it's not like below mid-card, I'm happy. So I'm happy with a 5 out of 10. I say I feel like I remember it being a bit better, but as I say, I've stated since the beginning pretty much. I just want something in the middle, and to get two back to back in the middle, I'm happy with. Now with ranking, this is a tricky one because I say I enjoyed Something Beneath. Obviously, I didn't enjoy the ending. Obviously I will clarify obviously because last time I was like was I remembering the ending correctly? Did nothing really happen at the end after they encountered the monster, or am I just fucking imagining things? Or did I look away? Sorry, and miss like an actual ending? No, nothing fucking happened when they encountered the monster. That's a downfall with that movie, was the ending. I liked a lot of everything else about it, apart from a couple of little plot lines. But the ending sucked ass. Whereas this, I say, I don't really like the acting, and I don't, obviously, and I say, the swapping between the Croc size is hit and miss. So it's one of those ones where both have got pros and cons as to which one stands out above the other. But I feel like I'm just gonna edge Something Beneath over this for the mystery angle. For you not knowing exactly what it is, this black goo or this weird like thing in the wall on the ground, what this is until you see that big monster at the end. I like that angle. I like the mystery angle, and I like the psychological aspect to that movie. So I feel like, though I say I like a crocodile movie, I feel like the psychological aspect of Something Beneath just tips that one over this one. So that's pretty much simple then, because then Croc will slot into second place. And obviously I'll give a quick rundown of the 6 we've done so far, starting with number 6, which is Blood Monkey. That's then followed by Grizzly Rage in 5. We've got Maneater in 4. In the Spider's Web in 3. Croc second. And Something Beneath first. And so I feel like that mystery angle is just what tips that over Croc for me. And so if the acting wasn't bad in this, I feel like this probably would have won it. But I feel like just because the acting was some of its weakest of the series so far, that for me does, drag it down a little bit more. So yeah, obviously, if you've seen Croc, put your thoughts in the comments below. The 2007 film, again, there's another film which has like Croc explanation mark. So I say, if you've seen Croc 2007, put your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, iTunes, etc., etc. You can also check it out on YouTube. You can see all my other content. I'm hoping at this point I should have got the first hour of Pokemon Legends Z to A out. So we're still doing Ghost of Yotai. So, there's a lot to look forward to on this channel. Obviously, I will link other crocodile movies in the description below. I've covered, as I've done both Blackwater movies. We did Rogue back in the day. I technically did Lake Placid as when we used to do the 5-minute segment at the end of the podcast when I first rebranded. So I'll have a look. I think I got a couple of crocodile ones I can link in the comments below. But other than that, I can't really think of anything else. Obviously, I want to try and get another episode out between now and the next Maneater series episode, because obviously we do have October 31st, which would be obviously the October 31st episode will be a Halloween episode, because obviously the podcast this year lands on Halloween, so I want to try and get one out. I'm debating at the moment what to do. I might obviously revisit the Halloween franchise and pick a random sequel and just cover that. So that's an idea I have in mind. But the next Man-Eater series episode, which is either if I don't do one on the 31st, obviously the next Man-Eater series will probably be the week after. If not, I think my scheduling has it the week after that, because of the 2-week gap. I look at my schedule and I don't actually fully know what it is just yet. But the next guaranteed video is going to be a film called Eye of the Beast, which is the 7th entry in the Man-Eater series. But as I say, I do really want to try and get a podcast out on the 31st because it being Halloween. May as well. It's not very often I get a chance to do the podcast on actual Halloween, so I say I'll look into some ideas of what I can do. But I say my mindset at the moment is picking a Halloween sequel and just having a bash at that. But we'll see, because I do have some other kind of ideas. Especially since we're doing this, obviously been doing this channel for 5 years now. Obviously, when I first did the podcast, the old podcast, the first October, we did the old podcast on. Obviously Hayden and I covered obviously classic horror movie remakes. So I remember like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that was actually because obviously we did The Shining for Connor, so we can get him on the show. But I'll say there is some other like classic slashers that have been remade, which obviously we could always look at. I mean, Child's Play is a good example. But as I say, I'll have a think between now and when I need to next record. So yeah, obviously I hope you enjoyed Croc, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And well, I'll see you on the next video.